All righty then. We want to welcome all of you to the ICAPs IET learning community for the day. And we'll, next slide, please. We want to just kind of go over what our purpose is for this learning community, just to review, to fulfill the mission of the Transitions Academy. A lot of you have participated in that or are participating in that. And also to support the FY21 ICCB IET grant recipients, which a lot of you that are on this are part of that grant, to share information. This is basically for you guys. We want to provide some things that you're interested in, but it's a lot of it for you guys to share information, ask questions, and learn from one another. And then we would like to also engage both adult ed and CTE and training partners. So if you have those individuals that you want to bring with you to the learning community, we welcome all of them. And we want to provide a safe place to share challenges and to provide support. So that being said, I would like to introduce our person today that's going to be speaking with us, and that is Will Durden. He's the Director of Basic Education for Adults for the state of Washington. And he's going to talk to all of us today on integrated service delivery, pieces of the puzzle, because this was something that several of you had said you would like to hear about. So Will, I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Bevan. And good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Quick mic check. Yeah, I'm seeing some head nods. Great. You let me know throughout the next hour if I talk too fast or cut out or anything like that. I'm not always aware. And when you see me look over my shoulder, it's because we've got a really great snowstorm happening right now, which is not always happening for us here in Washington State. So the little kid in me is very excited by the snow behind me right now. So just an FYI on that. I'm really looking forward to spending the next little bit of time with you on integrated service delivery. And as I kind of phrased it, just in a little cute way, pieces of the puzzle, because I do think as an introduction to this topic, everything that we need to serve our students in ICAPs or IET is there. It's just not all in where we want it. Different partners in the workforce development system have different pieces of that puzzle. So it's really up to us at the local level to, with help from the state and with help from coordinating bodies, it's up to us to kind of make those partnerships happen and find out who has what that can serve our students. So that's kind of the flavor of the day, is to really think through what's going on at your level. And this really isn't so much me sharing my infinite wisdom with you as really pulling your infinite wisdom out to share with the group. So I do hope that we can foster a warm, inviting space right now where we feel comfortable sharing our successes and our challenges, just to learn and grow with each other. So thanks for being here. Just another word so you know who I am. I know many of you in the room, but certainly not all of you. And if you were here last month, we had a lot of introductions and I was kind of keeping up, but not fully keeping up with who everybody was and what they were doing. So we might do a little bit, just as we're talking, I might ask you to remind me what your ICAPS program is, what you're working on, those types of things. And as we come back, I plan at every session with you coming up over the next months. And so I'll continue to get more familiar with you, always a little bit harder remotely, right? So we'll just pretend we're all in a cozy room together right now. Again, back to me and kind of what I'm doing here. And I'm the director now of basic education for adults, but for a long time prior to that, I was the lead for IBEST Washington State, which is our version of ICAPS, as many of you know. And so I'm coming to you with that expertise. And I did used to teach in that model. I was a former IBEST instructor. So kind of coming at it from that perspective. Although I've certainly picked up a lot of information and am excited to talk with you today about some of those other services that happen outside of the classroom that are equally important for student success. So I mentioned, I tend to say ISD, there's your alphabet soup for the day acronym, Integrated Service Delivery, ISD. In our publicly funded system, we do have, I think, most, if not all of the pieces needed to successfully serve students. But we kind of have to put that together. It's not always apparent who those people are and what they can offer us. So today's about trying to think through that. And to get us started, and we'll loosen up a little bit and kind of treat this as an icebreaker just to think through some of what's out there. We want to brainstorm what some of those services are. So you might be thinking about ICAPS programs that you already have up and running. or you might be thinking about things that you're trying to implement and it's very front and center for you. And what I want to hear, and you can pop it into the chat if you don't like to unmute. If you're feeling brave and like to use your voice, you can unmute, and I'll keep track of all of that. That'll be fine. What are some of the services that students need to be successful in your program, with the idea that upon exit, upon success in your program, students are ready to take on jobs, to really get employed based on the education and training they've received in your program. And so what we want to start to brainstorm is, what is that full complement of services that students need to be successful with that goal in mind? Lucas is getting us fired up with this first one here. Funding for post-secondary training. Yeah, excellent. Funding for post-secondary training, that's a big one. Who's going to pay for it? How are students going to access that? What else? Chat or Mike?
I'll pipe in. It seems to me that most students are grateful for, in the end, is the hands-on assistance going through every step of the process, including finding the program, getting enrolled in it, making sure that they're just getting their emails, signing up with their professors appropriately. So, you know, guidance, I'd say.
Thank you, Mandy. Yeah, I mean, we wish we could give a personal assistant to every student. And while that's not possible, I think that what you're pointing to is what we've tended to call in our state a navigator and navigational services, to help put, kind of as we have all of these pieces, to put them together for students. So thank you very much. Navigational services, or kind of those wraparound supports, a contact person for that. Glenda, it's nice to see you, Glenda, today. Glenda raises two of our always critical issues: transportation and childcare. We might have an interesting conversation about how the pandemic and how programming going forward has changed some of those needs around transportation and childcare, or what potential there is for that to look a little different in a more remote space. So thank you, Glenda, for bringing up that one. It's important. What else? Funding, transportation and childcare, navigator, other services that you see students needing. Technology access, Jeff, that's a good one. I tend to break that down into three categories. When I think about technology access, think about broadband, or access to actual connectivity. I think about the device and students having a stable device that they can use to use that access, and then the actual digital literacy skills that allow them to be competent and fluent in the use of that. So those are the three prongs that I think about when we think about technology. That's good. Mary adds contact with industry experts as mentors. Volunteers can fill this role, but yeah, that connection to industry is so key, and having somebody to talk to who is in or has been in the industry. I'm writing these all down old school on pen and paper so I can keep track. These are great. I think we've probably got a few more too. Jenny, absolutely. Basic needs like food, shelter, and clothing. There's been a lot of work done in the community college and adult educations lately on things like food insecurity, housing insecurity. And when we look at the statistics nationally and we see how widespread this problem is, it shouldn't surprise us too much that the students in our programs will have those needs. So I think that's huge. I'm writing down food, shelter, clothing. Glenda, time management skills. I'm still on mine. I think they're pretty good, but they could be even better. And certainly many of our students are learning those time management skills at that more introductory level. And some of them are probably better than me, but absolutely, time management skills are a big one for our student population. Thank you. We've got a pretty good list here. I bet we'll think of more, but that'll get us started. So thanks everybody for warming up a little bit to the conversation. So now that you're kind of thinking about the suite of services that we're thinking about, and Jenny's added an additional one, I've got to loop back to that, Jenny, college readiness skills such as note taking and test prep. Yeah, exactly. Where is that embedded inside the classroom, but where do students need additional support for that outside of the classroom? So I'm going to write that down, college readiness skills. Really critical. Good. So as we're thinking about this list and others, what I want to do now is really spend, it's about, well, I keep thinking about my time, 12:15. It's 2:15 for you, I believe. I think we could spend a good 10, 15 minutes. Let's start with 10 and see how it goes to really think about what successes you've had with this type of integration already, because I bet we've already got some good practices in the room. Not necessarily about what was already in place, but who's had to, forge a partnership, make a phone call, find a partner to do some of this work with you. I'd like to hear some success stories that people may have already had around integrating services across different partnerships.
And Will, they can unmute themselves if they would like to talk.
They cannot unmute themselves.
They can.
They can, yes. So yeah, absolutely unmute yourself. If you prefer to write, you've got multiple modes to engage in this conversation. I'm the master of silence, so it doesn't bother at all. Take some time to think about some successes you've had. Don't let the silence bother you, just consider it for a minute, and we'll get that brave first volunteer when you're ready.
I'll go ahead and go. I'm Jenny Morgan from Rock Valley College.
Great, Jenny, thanks.
Hi, we have a gentleman who, he's 50, 51, did not have his GED, wanted to go into the welding program.
Great.
We ran into a lot of difficulties trying to get it funded because of not only the lack of GED, but he did not, he didn't sign up for selective service way back when.
Oh yeah, that one will get you.
Yep. So he was denied any federal financial aid. But we worked with our Workforce Connection, our local Illinois WorkNet Center, and he was able to get WIOA funding. And he also needed transportation, so we provided a bus pass for him. He's had a lot of barriers. He's actually lost several family members to COVID. So referrals for personal counseling for him, which he hasn't taken up, but just providing that for him. And obviously throughout the classroom situation, the ICAPs instructor is also providing that support. So, between the two of us and the instructor and I communicate often for him and a couple others that are in the welding cohort, because they all have a lot of challenges. So those are just some examples I can think of.
Mm-hmm. Jenny, I'd love to do some deeper dive with you on that. Thanks so much for sharing. Tell me your role and your who you work for, where you sit in all this.
I'm the transition coordinator for Rock Valley College, which is in Rockford, Illinois. And so I manage the ICAPs program, and I do the recruiting for ICAPs, screening for the students, and then transition them in. Once they're in classes, then they're handed off a little bit to the ICAPs instructor for that academic support. But I still remain pretty involved with them throughout. Yeah,
so it sounds, Jenny, like you have both the program coordinating role, but it sounds like you're also doing what I had called that navigational support, where you're really working with students to start to finish.
Right.
How many ICAP students do you have in that welding program?
3.
3? So the nice thing about that number is you don't have to necessarily worry about scaling innovations. You can really look at each student and see what support they need,
right.
Which is helpful. Tell us a little bit about, in Washington State, the providers that I work with, they have varying levels of closeness with their local one-stop, with their local workforce. So, sometimes they've got a really great relationship and there's just resources going back and forth. Other times it's a little bit more crickets. Did you already have a positive relationship? Did you have to do some things to kind of manage that? Or what did that look like to get the funding for the student? 'Cause that's a big deal.
Right. We worked actually with them. It's been, a lot of times the students would get referred over there and just kind of get lost in the system. But they've been working to try to improve that system. So that's been helpful. And then I've made several contacts over there. Like, so personally, I know the person at the very beginning, and I will let her know, hey, I referred this person. So she kind of puts them, it's on her radar.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, there's just a couple people throughout a specific career planner over there that I'm really work well with. And that happened to be the one that this gentleman was assigned to. And ideally, I would love to have all of the ones that we refer assigned to the same career planner, but
yeah,
that would be really amazing, because then we'd have a better relationship. But currently that's not how it's done. But several of them have gone to this one, and he's really amazing. So I've been fortunate in that way, and been able to forge those relationships and partnerships.
That's so key, Jenny. Something that I hear time and again from our navigators is that personal relationship is key. And when you know that you've got sort of a good person in the system and you've got that warm handoff between them, that way students don't get lost in the shuffle.
Right. And he kind of does it back too. If he's meets with people and realizes, oh, they don't have a GED, then he'll send them to us, to our department, and has even referred somebody for ICAPs.
So that's great. Now in that opportunity and in that relationship, you've got some built-in kind of recruitment going on.
Right.
That's awesome, especially in times right now. I know my programs are really looking for those enrollments, having a hard time. And so if you've got a partner in your workforce center, that's pretty awesome, Jenny. I'm looking at Margaret and I'm thinking, oh, I agree, Tricia. Jenny is awesome. So Margaret shares that the decision for WIOA to fund co-enrollment opportunities is with the local workforce investment board. Margaret, do you want to speak more to your experience with that? No pressure.
Yes, thank you. So what we did was we approached the local workforce board with opportunities that we might have, because we also know that we have real employment needs in the area. So we approached them and said, hey, we can help train your folks, but a lot of our folks don't have a high school equivalency. So it was a board decision to support co-enrollment for us. So all of our opportunities, which for us is manufacturing and health careers right now, we're hoping to expand that, has been supported by our local workforce board. And it was a decision. It wasn't some big mandate from Washington. It's very much a local decision based on the local workforce area.
That's really exciting to hear. Tell me more about that. So they made a decision to fund those co-enrollment opportunities. Say again what that decision was. What are they doing?
You mean the workforce board? Well, the way it works with us is they gave us a list of like 35 high need positions in the community, all of which had the necessary criteria for them, which was sustainable employment, decent wages, things like that, everything that we look for when we want someone to get off social services and start self-supporting, right?
Yeah.
And I have that list. And so those are the partners that I look to at the college and outside of the college when we're hoping to create a co-enrollment opportunity. We do make sure we call it co-enrollment because dual enrollment is a very different animal.
Yeah, that gets you in the wrong conversation real quick.
Right, so we always say co-enrollment.
Yes, I think that's key. And thank you for pointing that out, Margaret. When you can get, Jenny and I were talking, well, all of us were talking about those individual high touch. It sounds like you got a larger kind of agreement that will help students going forward. And I think that co-enrollment is key because then both partners get the win for that enrollment. And so they see that they're not just helping somebody, which we all want to do, but they're helping somebody and continuing to support their program too. So that's really nicely done, Margaret. Thanks. Anybody else want to share kind of along those lines? It sounds like we've got some energy around looking at that partnership with your workforce investment board or your local workforce partner.
So at the Richland Workforce Consortium, we're actually partners with the local workforce board. And probably where we've integrated the best has been with our basic nursing assistant class.
Okay.
And we're able to fund those that aren't workforce eligible for this class. So we can do the adult ed piece, and they can fund those that maybe don't qualify, maybe their scores are too high. And so we blend together and do the class. So we got one coming up this spring, and we hope to get 16 in there. And it'll be a mix of workforce funded and college funded or adult ed funded.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, if we can blend it in, we might be able to bring some of the youth in. And actually, that's where a lot of the workforce funding comes from, is they always have money for youth.
For that out of school youth population, that 16 to 24. Mm-hmm.
Correct. And that's the real high demand need in our area, is the healthcare. I wish we could make this work like that for all of our ICAPs, but right now that's the one that's clicking the best.
Yep. And sometimes you look at that and say, okay, how can we take some of this success and replicate that over there, but in a different area? But you're building it in that one, and that's a good start, Jeff. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Lucas, what was that list squeezed out of your WIOA office? Tell us more about that, if you wish.
Sorry, I was getting there.
Yeah.
That was the list of approved programs, or no, areas of demand that they would approve that offer, like we covered, offer a sustainable, gainful employment level of salary.
So did that kind of point you to where you wanted to focus your efforts, because you knew that those were the areas they'd support?
There was a disconnect between what we could offer realistically instead of sort of pragmatically, with our students directly, and what they were willing to fund. But I think also that just kind of spoke to the lost in the shuffle sort of thing with our students in a larger sense. So we kind of have been trying to, I guess that's part of the development in a nice diplomatic way to say, but sort of be more demanding about what exactly their process is, and so we can cater to it, basically.
Yeah. Nice. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, I think that transparency can be a little slow going at first, but when they see it's in their interest and not just yours, that can be a win. So thanks for sharing that, Lucas. We've had some pretty good energy, specifically around. Want to do a kind of a scan for other people in the room. Have you had some wins around integrated service that haven't been with your local one-stop? Have there been some other partnerships or some other things? It could even be if you're all on the same campus, but sometimes there's just you made a connection with financial aid administrator or something like that. Could be anything. I think, is it Michelle? Do you have your hand raised?
So for us, unfortunately, our local WIOA partner does not like to play nice in the sandbox. And so they require that our students have their HSE prior to getting their WIOA funds. So we're not able to co-enroll using WIOA. But I kept going to Transitions Academy and listening to all of our sister institutions that kept saying, just keep reaching out. And at first I thought, oh gosh, it's so frustrating. If we had our WIOA partner, this would be so easy. And then we just changed our mindset and said, okay, well, who else can we ask? And we started building really good relationships with our CTE partners. And so for my global supply chain, because we've had so many successful cohorts and done some marketing, and they've really taken pride and have fallen in love with adult ed students, they are now paying for all of the books, and that's thousands of dollars. I think I have 10 of them, each cohort, anywhere from 10 to 12. So books and it's a 17 credit hour certificate over 2 semesters. So it's quite a lot of books. So they pay for all of that. And when we've also got in the college to put together some scholarships. So part of that tuition's being used. We've written some other grants to kind of braid that funding. And it's, I guess if there's a will, there's a way. And my advice to everybody is just keep asking. And if you showcase your students and market their success and what adult ed can do to the college's bottom line, like we show how many
Yes.
matriculate over, we give them
Yes.
data, how many credits they're taking and how much tuition they're generating.
Oh,
And
Michelle.
what an impact they have. You do that, and then you tie faces to those numbers. People put their hands out, and they're willing to help. Maybe not always financially, right? But they'll come in and say, "Well, we'll do free workshops," or I can hook you up with employers, and so it's just kind of been a winning thing for us. What started out is, oh my gosh, how are we ever going to do it? To let's not worry about the money so much. Let's focus on the students and what success we're building.
Michelle, I think you should be the national spokesperson for integrated service delivery. Would you be willing to take that role on? I think a lot of people could hear that message.
Sure.
Okay, great. I've got a yes from Michelle. Wonderful. I really like that emphasis. I wrote down showcase your students and connect. So you've got the face and you've got the story, but then you've also got the quantitative data behind the scenes. It's a business case. Think about your CTE programs that are hurting for enrollments right now. They know there's demand in the region. It's a good program, but they're having a hard time finding students. Hello, adult ed and ICAPs. We've got some students for you, right? And that can help the college's bottom line. I've got some great stuff in the chat, so I want to circle to that and take a look at it. First of all, Michelle, you got further props from Mandy, hands-on guidance through adult ed in the program. So Michelle, you're navigator, pilot, and flight control all rolled together, finding partners on and around our campus. Congratulations and great work. Bobby shares, partner with the college for computer access and a device. That's key. Perkins, thank you for bringing up Perkins. I was hoping we were going to hear Perkins come up in this conversation. Perkins can be a great source of funding for things like books and equipment. And then you also mentioned other grants like SWIFT, which must be something local I'm not familiar with, for tuition, transport, and childcare. Glenda, you share a good relationship with financial aid office for ability to benefit. I couldn't agree with you more. That's key. And we've heard some challenges where if a student didn't sign up for selective service, or they might have some other barriers to entry. But for so many of our students to co-enroll in that ICAPs and high school completion piece, that ability to benefit is going to be such a win for them. And you do need that financial aid office support to get that off the ground. Lauren shares, I'm hearing Perkins again, thank you. Some transition grant funds as well. And then getting more collaboration and buy-in with leadership at the college so that adult ed is working more closely with credit and CTE. Yeah, I'm really hearing that relational piece coming out strong for that collaboration and buy-in. Meg shares success collaborating with the foundation for scholarships. That's really great. Lucas, who's got the cockroach story? Are we back to Michelle? Does Michelle need to tell us a cockroach story, or is that somebody else?
I think it's worth the time, but that's up to her. Yeah, that's Michelle's.
Yeah. Michelle, let's work through the conversation, and then if we've got time for the cockroach story, I'm coming your way. Lauren is also seconding the ATB process, and Angela is sharing again on the Perkins grant. Sometimes we have partners with money that they haven't been able to spend, and sometimes even knowing the cycle of when things are due can be a good chance to check in and see if maybe they need some help spending their funds. It's hard to believe, but it does happen, right? So, man, what great resources. I hope if you're sitting here in this room right now, you're hearing a solution that you hadn't thought of, or that you hadn't tried, or that you hadn't had success with it, that you're writing that name down, and that you're thinking about how you can get in touch with the other person in this room who's going to help you figure out how to crack that nut for your integrated service delivery. So on that note, we've had a great conversation with the successes, and I do think we should go ahead and get into some of the challenges. What's frustrating you? What's missing? Where have you tried and failed and feel like you're hitting your head against the wall in getting services and resources for your students? Let's dive into some of the ongoing challenges that we might have right now.
I can start. This is Lauren. Hang on
Thanks,
one
Lauren.
second. I am just having some technical issues. Just 1 second. Oh, shoot.
No problem,
Hang
Lauren.
on, you guys.
We can hear you just fine.
You can? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Sorry, I'm just getting the weirdest echo and I don't know why this keeps happening. Okay. You know what? Can you guys come back to me? I'm going to try and
Yes.
fix this. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you see if you can sort that out. And maybe while you were
Okay.
working on that, somebody else was building up the courage to speak.
Okay.
Or type.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is much better and I can, all right. So
All right.
what
Hi, Lauren. I can see you now too.
Yeah, no, I'm just having some issues, but it's better. So one of the things that's been challenging and kind of a pain point for us is that we have a healthcare bridge. And so students are in the adult ed portion with contextualized instruction for 16 weeks. And then they go into the BNA, the Basic Nursing Assistant Program. And so we have collaboration and quite a bit of collaboration with the nursing team. Like there's so many steps that are required to get students into the program. Background check and fingerprinting and medical records upload and all this stuff. Okay. So we have these weekly meetings with the nursing team and with our transition specialists, and that's been wonderful. Thank you. One of the big challenges has been getting more incorporation of the adult educator with the CTE instructor. Mm-hmm. So we had like a very, very strange issue last year. And essentially the nursing team said, you know what, because of really strict guidelines from the Illinois Department of Public Health, we can't have your adult educators reviewing material from the BNA class. And so what's happened to our support class, like we have our BNA class and then the students meet with the adult educator once or twice a week, kind of depending on the campus for this support class. And so this is part of our integration here, but it does feel somewhat separate because the adult educator is really not supposed to review BNA content at all. It's more of a session to say, like, how are things going? Do you have a quiz coming up? Do you need help with time management, test taking strategies? And so I was wondering if other folks have had something similar happen, or how you've been able to address those kinds of challenges. And I will say with our early childhood bridge, it's the total opposite. Our child development faculty have welcomed with open arms our adult minus one individual, have said, to our adult educators, be an observer in the class. And that benefits everybody. So the adult educator comes in and they understand the content and they know what quizzes are coming up and papers and all this stuff. And it makes things better. And I see that Michelle is agreeing or raising her hand, sorry. But anyway, I'll stop talking. I just wanted to know if you guys have that challenge. And for us, it's particularly with healthcare. Yeah, Lauren, that's a great question. And we'll get to Michelle and others who want to comment on that. I will say that has been the field where that happens the most for us, where because of accreditation and health and safety, they just get really nervous with thinking that the adult educator is going to actually teach content rather than working with the content. And so I think there's some distinctions there that we have to tease out that can be challenging. Let's share more. Michelle, do you have a comment to that?
I do. So, and it's actually very similar to what you were saying in that all of our other IETs, like in early childhood and global supply chain management, we don't have that issue. But when we were doing our healthcare bridge leading into nurse assistant, There was, oh my goodness sakes, I think they only let our support teacher in, but they like kept an eye on her, like she was going to maybe steal something, and it was hard. But what she did, like you said, was the observer. She would take notes, and the students might have had a little hard time hearing the hiss with the blood pressure cup, and she would make fractions with that. They would practice that in the support class. And then she also used approved tutors that the allied health team knew they were accredited because they were through the college. And so that might help if you pull in your tutoring and learning center with that, so that there's, because all of our tutors, both peer and professional, have to be accredited through the college. So that helped us a little bit. And then the other thing too is it must just be like an RN nurse thing. They're like military, like you do not step on their toes, and it's finding the right support teacher that can, yes, I agree.
Right.
It's part of that chemistry with that, because not all of your adjuncts and your faculty are going to want to, I guess, kiss that much RN, but you're going to have to make it work. And so it's finding the right chemistry between your support teacher and your RN. Not so much in welding or any of the other ones. They're usually very happy to have us, but I would try that.
Michelle, thanks for that. Laura, and a lot of head nods, some ideas and suggestions there.
Definitely. Yeah. I think the tutoring, we definitely have like 2 nurse educators who are tutors. And so they work with students sort of on a different schedule, but it's definitely a resource for the students, and especially in terms of test prep for the certification test. And so I see someone else saying, as a dean, I would recommend you talk with it. This is coming from like the top all the way down to the instructor level. Like this is just kind of their policy. And anyway, so yeah. But yeah, it is good to hear from other folks too, because I suspected this cannot just be some weird IDPH rule. You can Google BNA content. I mean, there's no like
anybody can access it.
Yeah, I mean, I could go buy a book. There's no trademark here, and I get it, but it seems like, can't we find some middle ground here?
Yeah, and so I'm glad we got some suggestions to you, Lauren, and at least you're not alone in it. And yeah, good. Definitely. So good luck with that. I'm hoping through the course of this academy we might hear if sometime down the road that you found a way past that. So we'll be curious to hear how that goes for you. We'll keeping track of that. I do want to spend just a couple minutes. We're roaring through our hour together here, which is great. I love this energy. I do want to talk a little bit about enrollments, because that's a key thing. I'm hearing some people, and I'm going to summarize a little bit from the chat, that you've got the program, you've got it all set up, and where are the students? I want to hear what people have found for success with that. And I do want to lead with just one thought from Washington State. And we're very much in the middle of this. Don't have all the answers by any means. But a lot of times what I found is that the programs will look to how they kind of recruit and market and advertise. And I think that's all well and good. But an interesting thing that I've asked programs lately is, how is your website? If somebody were to Google adult education in my county or city, and they found your website and they went to it, what is that experience for the student? I don't know that answer for you, but you. And what I heard from some of my providers when they were being frank with me is they're like, well, really our website's not very good. And my suggestion to that was, I wouldn't put too much resources into advertising. If the advertising takes them to your website and then they get lost because the website isn't easy to navigate, they can't find a way to submit a question, it's not clear to them what really is available to them, that kind of thing. And so that's my first and only suggestion on recruitment, is don't do advertisement to the impoverishment of what your actual front-facing website looks like. And you might not always have a lot of institutional control for changing that, but you might have some. So Mary is agreeing, and that you actually are working on yours right now for those reasons. Mary, you're welcome to unmute and speak to that more. Or if other people want to talk about any successes or challenges they've had, kind of with that digital landing page.
Thank you. So this is Mary from Heartland Human Care Services. We realized that not long ago, we realized we were spending a lot of our time and our mental energy on recruitment efforts. And then fortunately, a couple of staff were like, well, wait, hold on. If somebody Googles, right, and they end up on our website, is the info that's there complete? And also, is it in clear language?
Yes.
That really states the essentials, doesn't overwhelm with detail, doesn't assume, like a high academic level of vocabulary. So in other words, trying to put the reader or the potential student at the center of our messaging. It's something, as I said, that we're still working on. We're definitely not there yet, but we feel fortunate to have recognized it because
yes.
it does matter.
Yes, Mary, thank you. Well stated. Well stated. And also, what's the experience like on a PC versus the mobile version? Does the mobile version do the right kind of shrinking and repackaging? Because if we look at a PC website that's designed for a 20-inch monitor and we squeeze it onto a 5-inch screen, what's that experience for students? That's another big one that comes up too. And yeah, that's money and time and resources, but it might be a good direction for folks to look at. Any other successes or challenges with enrollment around kind of recruiting, marketing, getting the word out, all the way up to initial intake that people want to comment on? And we've got about 5 minutes left, so this might be kind of a piece to end on.
I'll just jump in
Thanks,
to
Tricia.
say, yeah, we rely on some partnerships with some internal divisions of our college. There are other initiatives, I believe it's the WAY grant, the Workforce Equity Initiative, as well as our colleges they're kind of pouring resources into a center that's going to have a lot of CT industrial programs at it. And so Jenny, who's our transitions coordinator, is working very hard at forging those relationships and strengthening them so that we can have cross referrals, because as much as we do information sessions and ads and an awesome website and, just all the things, that we just don't get turnout from that, but we might get turnout more from, like she said, if she gets a cross referral from another agency or another part of the college. So we're kind of hoping that we can connect with people who are not only kind of either completely off the street that we don't know, or people that are, already in our adult education program, but also people who are already in these CTE programs or ICAPs programs who might benefit from having our academic support, so that we can fold them in. So we're trying to kind of approach it from multiple directions.
Thanks, Tricia. You did a nice job of describing some of the details of it's not always just marketing to the community. Sometimes it's marketing to who's in your more traditional adult ed programs, and then it's marketing to the actual programs, because we found very much to your point that many of the traditional mainstream students who were granted access to the workforce program through regular means would really benefit from that team teaching and that academic support. So getting that message to programs can be really key. Michelle, you have your hand up?
Yeah, some of the things that really surprised me when we got into the pandemic and we're working from home, I thought, how are we ever going to populate these IETs and these bridges? And I would go into Zoom into the classrooms, and the students would just their heads down and ignore because they were there to focus on math or English. I would try and explain to all of the instructors who I thought could help me get the word out what an IET was, and really trying to say, oh yes, while you're working on your high school equivalency or English as a second language, I also want you to take accelerated college courses online. And I just quickly realized they have to be able to trust you before they trust the process, because if you just say that, they're never going to sign up for it. And so what we did is we had other people that were successful and gone through that were still in classes talk about it. And it was kind of referral by mouth. And then we used a lot of texting because that's really the only way our students respond. And from there, then we just kept getting, I have a friend, Miss, can a friend come in too? I have this, other person. And I honestly think part of it was just letting the people that are already in the program speak for your program. And then for your next cohort, that really builds, and texting.
It sounds like you have what I think of as a good ambassador program. Your current students are the best ambassadors for your future students. Yeah, that's really nicely said. Thanks. Folks, we're doing great here. I'm going to see where we're at. Oh, there you go. There's the last slide from me. I'm going to transition it over to your fearless leaders in your state, and just wanted to let you know that the conversation is ongoing. Certainly, I'm not done with my time with you in terms of these get-togethers. But if you ever have a question for me or a thought or something you'd like to share, don't hesitate to contact me and let me know how I can better support you or how I can learn from you, because I've been definitely taking a lot of notes to share with some of my folks here in Washington State on some of the great work you're doing. So I love this partnership and want to continue to see how we can foster this conversation around integrated service delivery. Thanks everybody for your time. I think, is it Angela? Am I sending it over to you now?
It's me.
Great.
Thank you, Will, for all that information. Thank you, everybody, for sharing, whether it was in chat or on mic, on camera. I know it's the end of the week and it's sometimes hard to do that sort of thing in a meeting. Just very briefly, it's that time of year that, the RFP is going to come out. I don't have a date for that, so don't ask me. I know a lot of people want to know. I don't have the answer to that question. I'm the wrong person to ask. But the RFP is coming soon. I'm sure something in there will be mentioned about ICAPs. Don't know, again, not involved, don't know the exact details of that. But if you've been working on them and you need to get an approval, there's my email. You can shoot me an email. If you move to the next slide, I think I did these yesterday. I've already forgotten what they are. I think that's Will that's got the slides.
Angela, is that correct? It's LLCC-EDU. Is that the correct email?
Yeah, no, that is totally not correct. No,
I'll post
I'm
your
not
right
looking
email
like
in there.
Hey, thanks. I don't know what happened there. Flashback from 10 years ago? I don't know. Sorry. If you're interested, when somebody submits an approval application to me for an ICAPS, I use a rubric to go through and make sure that all the parts and pieces are in it. Now, it's not a scored rubric, so you don't get back a 98 out of 100. So if you're one of those competitive people that you're like, I got to have 100 out of 100, this is not that rubric. This is just a, is it included kind of rubric. Yes, I love questions and I love email. Thanks, Amy. But you can get to that rubric if you go to the website that's up there on the screen that I'm sure somebody's going to copy and paste into the chat for me. And scroll down a little bit, you'll see where the process for applying for IET for an approval is. And you'll see the rubric word in blue. Click on that, it'll take you to the document. You do not fill out the document. That's the document that I will fill out about your proposal. I will send it back to you with any comments and questions. You have the opportunity to fix it. There's a couple people on this call that have gone through that already. Hopefully it was fairly painless. That was my goal, was fairly painless. But it is, you can use it as a guide to make sure that you've got everything included that you need. And then it comes back to me with hopefully everything. When we've got everything clear, then I send it on up the line for final approval from Kathy Olson Tracy and Whitney Thompson. And then I'll send you the letter that says, hey, congratulations, you've been approved for your IET in this area. Our goal is not to, our goal is to get you approved IETs. We're all working for that same thing. I don't have a certain quota that I hit once a year and I'm done. So this will be ongoing, but just if you need it, if you've got questions, you're welcome to email me. I would give you my phone number, but I was only at that desk for 12 weeks and nobody has that email. Nobody has that phone number, so I rarely check that. You'll get a much quicker answer if you shoot me an email. I'm happy to set up a phone call with you guys. If you've got questions, I can do a Zoom, I can do whatever you need to and walk you through whatever you think. You know, I've had several programs contact me and say, hey, what is this right? Am I thinking about this the right direction? Yes or no? I can give you some guidance along with Bevan and Sarah and Tara. They're all good to go with a lot of that information as well. So if you've got questions, reach out to me. I do like emails. I'll answer them. That's all I've got. Will, is there another slide after that? I don't. Talking about recruitment, there was an email that most of you should have received from Nora Rossman yesterday about an upcoming recruitment series for adult ed. Take a look at that and see if it's something that you can get in on. Amy Julian's team at ICSPS and Bevan's group have been working on that. So, you know, it can't hurt to take a look and see what they've got in there. I'm sure there's going to be lots of useful information and resources. Those ladies are pretty good with all that. Is there any type of technical assistance that we're missing at this point, that you feel like you're missing at this point, that you need from us?
Yes,
Bevan,
please let us know if there's anything any type of information you're looking for, if we can do individual calls, if there's something that you'd like to talk about the next time. Amy's just posting some information in the chat here about some upcoming PD and some upcoming sessions. And especially one we were thinking about is making your website a recruitment tool. We're going to be talking about that later this month. So please take a look. Let us know if you have any questions about that. And if there's anything else we can do to support you.
And if you still need a mentor, please reach out to me and I'll make sure you get assigned one.
So just to clarify, because my links did not post, the series that I posted is what we are doing in response and in support of the Adult Education Recruitment Plan initiative that ICCB released. In addition to that, we will be having a series, really workshops and true like hands-on workshops, just we're not going to be face-to-face, on making your website an effective recruitment tool. And the registration for the first understanding the process is there, and the registration for the making your website an effective recruitment tool will take place, will come out next Monday. Sorry, we got a lot going on, so I didn't mean to confuse everybody, but my links didn't post there. Thank you.
All right, and here we have our upcoming dates for our learning community. And we've have some great plans and some interactive discussions and time for you to share and talk and let us know what you need posted here. So we look forward to seeing you then as well.
And Will, you said you'd be interested to see about the ICAPs about the websites. That will be recorded and posted on our Transitions Academy website, right, Amy?
Sorry, I started talking. There's two things I want to share. It's going to be sent out as a recording. So it's going to be designed to watch the recording and then come to the workshop. And then also, Will, this right here is a fun little, it's guiding it tool that we put together. What are the, what are the things, effective practices? And we have, it's not 10, it's 16 steps to make your website an effective recruitment tool. And so the series is built off of this document. The document's ready, the recording's being polished, and then the PD will come out later this month. That's in addition to the recruitment action plan for everybody who's in the field. So
Awesome.
Will, check that
Thank
out.
you.
Anybody else can
Great.
too. But everyone else, there's also going to be the recruitment action plan, which is part of the adult ed structure as well. A lot of things, as I said, lots.
Terry, you
going
want to
on.
wrap us up?
Yes. All right. We'd like to say thank you everyone again for coming, and we're looking forward to seeing you next time. And please remember, we talked about at the beginning, Bevan was mentioning if you'd like to invite any partners, if you feel like that would be good for your program, please go ahead and invite them as well. And let us know if there's anything else you'd like to see, or if there's any other way we can support you.
And again, thank you, Will, for a marvelous presentation, very interactive. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for joining, Will. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, take care.